Welcome to First Byte, our Detroit Lions preview podcast for the upcoming Detroit Lions game. It is week 8, which means it is Monday Night Football at Ford Field, and the Las Vegas Raiders are in town. Almost said Los Angeles, which is even further back than Oakland and whatever. But anyways, my name is Jeremy Reisman. I'm the producer over at Pride of Detroit. You can find me at Detroit Online on Twitter. With me, as always, co-hosting our First Byte preview podcast is senior editor of Pride of Detroit at Ryan_POD on Twitter. Ryan Matthews is here. Ryan, how we doing, buddy?
Doing well. The one extra day always just throws everything off a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like Thursdays feel like you're just like sweating bullets and you're like in a rush to get stuff done. Monday, it just sneaks up on you. You know what I mean? We're like, oh, it's a normal week. It's a normal week. No, it's Monday. You got an extra day.
It's weird. I don't like it.
Yeah.
We're trying to get into a routine here. We got Thursday games. We got Monday games. We're going to have a Saturday game at some point. It's the price you pay for being a good football team, I guess, which is, probably worth it. I was going to say, speaking of good football teams, but I'm not sure that's the case here. We'll get into it. But as always, we like to bring in a guest from the opposite side, covering the opposite team. This week is no exception. Our guest today is the producer at Silver and Black Pride, of course, the SB Nation site for the Las Vegas Raiders. Bill Williamson is here. Bill, nice to see you again. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know if they're a good team, but they're a team that plays primetime a lot this year. This will be their third game on primetime already. They have 6 standalone games. I'm with you. The routine gets a little wacky.
Yeah. Whether or not the national audience is going to have to deal with the Las Vegas Raiders this year, which they already have a fair amount. But let's get into it. We like to start at the top talking about the opponent's offense going against the Lions' defense. And I think that means that we have to start the conversation with Jimmy Garoppolo. Certainly seems like he's trending towards playing after missing last week. I guess my first question to you is that a good thing for Raiders fans that the Jimmy Garoppolo is playing?
Well, at this point today, with the 3 quarterbacks, on the roster, yeah, it's a good thing. I don't know if it's a great thing, but it's the best thing that they got. And this is a guy who signed with the Raiders, was kind of the best option if you didn't want to get really creative or spend a lot of money. He's a guy that was in McDaniel's system in New England several years ago. He has won a lot. They thought, okay, he can manage the offense. He knows McDaniel's system. My thought on the whole thing was he's probably not as good as Derek Carr, but the coach is comfortable with him. So maybe it's a better outcome than last year. And so far it hasn't been. And, one of the problems with Jimmy is, of course, he's injury prone. He's only played 1 full season, and through 7 games this year, he's only played 4.5 games, and he's missed games with 2 different injuries. And so that's kind of the worry, and that's showing up. But what's also showing up is that it's just not been very efficient in the offense. He's thrown 8 interceptions, tied for the league with Jalen Hurts. And I just said he's missed 2.5 games.
Yeah.
8 interceptions in 4.5 games. So yeah, that's been unlike him. So yeah, it's not really working out so well. But of the 3 quarterbacks on the roster, he's the best option for this game.
Is there any kind of like clamoring, Bill, from Raiders fans to maybe
Always
see?
Clamoring.
Yeah. To specifically to see any of the guys behind him. I know that they got a little bit of Aiden O'Connell at one point, and now Brian Hoyer there too. And you talk about Patriot ties, it's another guy, right? But like, do they already feel so frustrated to this point where like we don't want to see Jimmy Garoppolo back? Like we want to see where this franchise kind of goes forward, but that's kind of tied to Josh McDaniels too at the same time, right?
Yeah, it's a weird situation. There was certainly clamoring for Aiden O'Connell early. He had a great preseason. He probably was the preseason MVP of the NFL, And I think fans of all teams always very romantic when you draft a quarterback, right? Yeah. No matter what round. And 4th round, you get a little, hey, maybe he becomes something. Maybe he's, a gem, a diamond in the rough. So, but now they've seen him a little bit. I think there's still some excitement, but, the kid has thrown 3 interceptions and lost a fumble in like a game in 5 minutes, so. But I think there may be some more clamoring if Jimmy screws it up next few weeks, and then they'll get excited about O'Connell again. I think there's some potential of O'Connell, but there's I think his shine is a little off after all those turnovers, and there's zero clamoring for Hoyer. That's that ship has sailed. If he starts. If he starts again this year with Jimmy out, I don't know. The fans are gonna, revolt even more than they always already did.
I think that's what happens when last week to the Bears happens.
Right.
This guy has lost 13 straight starts dating back to 2016.
Oh wow. Well, there you go.
He is who he is.
Right.
Proof is in the pudding. Yep.
Right.
Well, let's get into what exactly is going wrong with the offense. Particularly, let's start with the pass offense because there's some problems on the other aspect of their offense as well. But I mean, from the outside in, you look at Jimmy Garoppolo. He's in a system he's comfortable with. You look at the receiving core. You got Devontae Adams. You got Jacoby Myers. You got Hunter Renfrow, who apparently is maybe on his way out. They just stopped using him. And have an offensive line that can pass protect, including one of the best tackles in the league right now. So why isn't it all working together? What's happening that's causing them to be one of the lowest scoring offense in the league?
It's a good question. Last year they were kind of wonky on offense, but they also had some big games. Mm-hmm. And through 7 games last year, they were averaging 23.2, I think. Mm-hmm. And right now it's 16.
Yeah.
This offense, the Raiders just became the last team in the NFL in week 6 to hit the 20-point mark. And that only happened because they got a safety at the end of the game. Now that ended the Patriots weren't going anywhere, but it was, a game-saving safety. So it was significant, but that's this offense has scored 19 points. That's its total this year, high. And averaging 16 points. I mean, they're averaging a touchdown less than they were at this point. That's significant. I think a lot of it, you can blame a lot of people, and I think the first one you look at is the head coach. I mean, this is his offense. This is why he's here. He was the guru, right? And it's just not working. And like I said, it was a little wonky last year, but it's way wonky this year. There's more turnovers. The red zone problems persist. The red zone issues have been an issue in Oakland for years. Before John Gruden, he didn't fix it. And the smoking gun, the common denominator was Derek Carr, right?
Right.
And he certainly played a role in it, but it's still an issue. And Jimmy was pretty good in the red zone in San Francisco. So yeah, I think there's a lot of they're very puzzled, I think, what's going on inside the building. And this has been a 7-game thing. And again, they've been without their starting quarterback for 2.5 games. That's a lot of pressure. But it's been the same look no matter who the quarterback was. Maybe Jimmy bails them out more than the other guys have. Jimmy has made some plays this year, particularly in wins against, the Broncos late, the Packers late. He's made some plays, but still, it's just there's something off. Like you said, they have. I think if you want to say he's the best receiver in football, I'm not going to argue. If you want to say he's the 3rd best receiver in football, the guy's elite.
Yeah.
Devontae Adams is an elite player. But if you look at his stats, he's had one monster game, and that was Pittsburgh week 3. And like the 2 previous games before Chicago, I think he had a total of 7 catches and, not a whole lot of yards. And he opened his mouth. And he's very interesting. When he complains, he's just talking matter-of-factly. It's not that classic receiver diva thing. He's just being very matter-of-fact and making a lot of sense about it, and not making it about him, making it about we want to win, and I'm the best way to do it. And again, he does it very maturely. So he got targeted 7 times by Brian Hoyer in the first quarter. And then he doesn't get targeted until like mid-3rd, and he's feeding Myers. So maybe that was just a Hoyer thing walking into the first option. I don't know. But yeah, there's just all kinds of issues. And again, it goes back to the head coach. He's got to figure this out. This is why he's in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and another key to the success last year, at least on offense for the Raiders, was Josh Jacobs, and he's having a start to the season that frankly just isn't nearly as impressive as 2022, right? Like, I mean, yards per attempt is down, yards after contact per attempt, those are down.
Explosive runs, yeah,
everything. Is that a symptom, Bill, of just a slow start for Jacobs, who had the holdout and everything, or is it the offensive line, or is it a combination of the two?
I think it's a combination. I think it's the presence of Jimmy not being able to throw downfield. I think there's a lot there. He threw the coach in there. Josh Jacobs missed all of training camp. And, I saw a thing today, Nick Bosa was saying, hey, he only has 2.5 sacks. And he's saying, yeah, being out of training camp kind of affected me a little bit. And Josh Jacobs really hasn't said that much. He said he was rusty early, but maybe that has played a role. They're not blocking as well against the run as they did last year. But yeah, I mean, this team won games last year because they were running the ball. And that really helped out the passing game. And it's just not there. I know, Nick Lombardi, the offensive coordinator, said yesterday that he thinks he's close. The running game's close. I know Dan Campbell said that this week.
Yeah.
Maybe, there's been some runs here and there but overall, we're mid-season and it's just not happening, consistently. And the Lions stopped the run well. So it's going to be another challenge this week.
So you mentioned that they can't, or Jimmy hasn't been pushing the ball downfield.
Right.
Obviously, he doesn't have a as strong of arm as some NFL quarterback. It's something he occasionally does, but is that how defenses are responding? That they're not taking the deep threat seriously, so they're loading the box to stop the run? Is that maybe part of the equation there?
Very much so, loading the box. I think defensive coordinators look at this offense right now and see it very predictable and very beatable. And they're not doing themselves any favors. And then when they go out in the field, they don't execute very well either. And they lead the league in turnovers. So there's a lot going wrong here. And you look at the talent on this team, and you got high quality players, and at some spots.
Right.
So yeah, it's very frustrating, I think, inside that building.
Well, you mentioned they've got talent across the board in a lot of spots. One of those new talents is Michael Mayer, I should say. I think Lions fans are at least mildly interested in his career, obviously, because the Lions also drafted a tight end. So how's the first 7 weeks of his career been so far with Las Vegas?
It's been interesting. It's been slow. Weeks 5 and 6, he caught a combined 7 passes, showed that, that yak that he was known for at Notre Dame. I think that's what really made him a top NFL prospect, because he looked like he could adjust to this game. Last week, he kind of only had 2 catches for a few yards, but the whole offense was off that game, so I'm not going to say the kid took a step back. So I think there is some things to be excited about, and I think Jimmy will certainly try to get him going. If you look at tight ends over the last 20 years or so, a lot of the great ones didn't do much as rookies, and it takes a while, and it's a really hard position to get going. So I think there's some promise there. Is there promise for him to be a game breaker every game this year? I'm not sure, but I think he's the type of guy in year 2 and 3 we'll see take strides. And overall, they're not using the tight end as much as they did last year. Him and Austin Hooper, the free agent, they completely cashed in their tight ends. They traded Waller, they let Moreau go as free agents, and those guys had a much bigger role last year than these guys are so far. And that's another issue with the offense. I think it's very interesting. Laporta, Mayer picked back-to-back.
Yeah.
And, I wonder if the Raiders wanted Laporta, because they traded up. They're at 38. And they traded up to 35 with the Colts after Laporta went 34. So maybe those 2 guys were their guys.
Yeah.
And they say, we got to get the next one. So it's an interesting matchup, and I wrote about it this week.
So Bill, I mean, I guess kind of thinking about just that the Raiders offense and where it's at right now, knowing what you know about the Lions defense, you mentioned their run game is their run defense is particularly strong. Is there anything that the Lions, I mean, last week against the Ravens, it was, the Ravens could score and they could move the ball in any way they wanted. Do you think that there's anything that maybe Josh McDaniels or the Raiders can kind of cook up that might be concerning for the Lions defense this week?
Yeah, I think if Jimmy's feeling good and he's in a rhythm with both his receivers and if they're cooking, but they haven't cooked yet this year, and maybe that's all NFL teams have a couple good games, right? I mean, the Bears came together last week against the Raiders, so maybe this is the Raiders' week where it comes together. But I think it's going to be challenging for them because I think the Lions do a lot of things on offense that, on defense that the Raiders have been struggling against. Stopping the run and they're facing a really good pass rush. And I feel like this is the game that's going to be really challenging for the Raiders. But if they do things that they haven't done, that's take care of the ball, feed both of the receivers at the same time, get the tight ends involved, run the ball. Yeah, sure, it could happen, but it just hasn't. And I think the Lions are pretty equipped to handle it.
All right, we are going to take a break there. When we come back with Bill here, we are going to talk about the Lions' offense going against the Raiders' defense, which is also a pretty interesting matchup. So stick around here on First Byte. We'll be right back. Okay, really quick, just so our live audience knows, we're going to jump right into the second segment here. So no break. We're just going to jump right into it. And we are back here on First Byte with Bill Williamson talking Lions Raiders Week 8 preview, Monday Night Football. We talked about the Raiders offense and some of the struggles they have on that side of the ball. The defense, I guess, maybe a little bit better, but let's get into that. And I think we got to, again, start with kind of like the main billing here, and it's Max Crosby, one of the best pass rushers in the league, going up, I imagine, mostly against Penei Sewell, one of the best right tackles in the league. So first, Bill, is that what you expect to see on Monday night, those two going up against each other, or do the Raiders like to move Max around a lot so that he's not just over the right tackle all game?
Yeah, I mean, they'll move him around some. I think that it's probably going to be the primary matchup with those two guys. He doesn't have a lot of help. He has the highest percentage of pressures in the league of his team.
Yeah.
And I think it's close to 40%. They try to help him. They signed Chandler Jones last year to a big deal.
Right.
He wasn't very good last year. Then they draft Tyree Wilson, number 7 overall.
Right.
So they invested big, and then Chandler Jones has his issues. He ends up getting cut, doesn't play a game this year. Tyree Wilson has been very slow to come on. He got his first sack of the season last year on a Hail Mary that was kind of weird. At the end of the first half.
Yeah.
He's just not. He's playing 39% of the snaps. So he's been a part-time player. So Max doesn't have a lot of help. I think the Lions fans are going to be really impressed by this guy. I think he is an underrated player. I think he's definitely a top 10 defensive player in the league.
Yeah. Regardless
of position, maybe 5. He's a complete player. He just plays hard every play. He played 4 straight games of 100% snaps.
Oh, man.
He's an amazing player. He really is. And so I think you guys are going to be really impressed how this guy just goes and goes every play. It was interesting. I was looking this week. He was taken, the Lions took in the 4th round in 2019. What, Austin Bryant, is that his name?
Yep.
And Max went 106. Tampa Bay took a defensive end right after him at 107. And then the Lions took their defensive end at 115. Once you get to that thing, they're all interchangeable, right? So
Sure.
If he falls past the Raiders, he might be there for the home state team.
That's It's a good point. You're twisting the knife here, Bill, a little bit.
Not at all. Hey, if you look at the Raiders drafting the last 20 years, they can do a touchdown dance once or twice, and that's one of them. So let them enjoy that.
Yeah, we understand that.
What's that?
As Lions fans, we understand that.
True.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Very similar teams.
Yeah, franchises for sure.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because Crosby, locally getting a lot of comparisons to Aiden Hutchinson because, they obviously both have that kind of relentlessness to them. They both play incredibly high snap counts. I didn't realize Max was even higher than what Aiden is getting. But I guess I would just want to throw this out there. Wasn't part of our rundown, but I think a lot of Lions fans are looking at a guy like Max Crosby and maybe some other guys on this Raiders defense and saying, are they even going to be playing on Monday night? Are they, is there any chance in your opinion that the Raiders go a little bit fire sale here in the next 5-6 days here before Tuesday's trade deadline?
It's interesting. I mean, quick answer is I don't think they're going to fire sale. I know Mark Davis told The Athletic before the Chicago game, and that's a long time ago. You lose to the Bears, 30-12. That changes a lot of things, right? But he said that we want to buy, we want to win. I know they've been looking for defensive line help. In the NFL, how they prepare for games. I mean, we're almost at the deadline in theoretically, right?
Yeah.
And more in just reality. I mean, and the fact that these two teams are playing on Monday night. I wrote yesterday that what do the Raiders do? They almost have to just wait and to see what happens after this game.
Right.
Because there's a huge difference, especially in the AFC, between being 4-4 and 3-5.
Yeah.
And they play the Giants. The Raiders have had an incredibly easy schedule this year, and they still can't cash in. So they play the Giants next week, and then they play the Jets. Both those games are at home, and then it gets really tough.
Yeah.
So, maybe they're still, but I don't know. I mean, if you're 3-5 and the way you play, I don't know if you can justify buying. But then you don't have much time to make a deal either because you're flying home, and then the deadline's looming at 1:00 Pacific. So maybe they have to do some contingency deals here, some talks. I think the one guy that is Hunter Renfrow.
Yep.
There've been rumors about him being traded since before March even. And, there's rumors that him and Waller were going to go. Well, Waller went and he didn't. He's not playing hardly at all. It's one of the, it really bothers Raider fans. It's really kind of baffling. So I'm really interested to see if we get to Monday and he's not traded. Is he a healthy scratch in that game?
Right.
And that might be, we bubble wrapped him and we're going to trade him in the morning.
Yeah.
So I think he is the one guy to really look at, hey, anything could happen. Who knows? I never say never on this stuff, but I think he's the one guy to focus on. But it's not that big a deal because he hasn't been playing much.
So my fingers crossed that Marcus Peters just runs out of the tunnel with a Lions jersey on. That's probably not going to happen.
He missed practice today with an injury. Kicker Daniel Carlson missed practice today with an injury too.
Oh.
And he had a pregame groin in Chicago, missed a kick, and now he's not practicing. And maybe just rest. Maybe they're waiting. But that's something to watch because, that guy is a weapon.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Pre-trade deadline injuries. Always something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Bill, I guess to shift kind of back to the defense and talk about the Raiders run defense. What's going on? Why can't they stop the run? They're really bad DVOA, really bad EPA. Max Crosby can only do so many things. Is that the issue?
Yeah, they're not really strong on the defensive line. Their linebackers are okay. Max Crosby is their one blue chip guy, Below Nichols, he may remember from Chicago, he's had some moments at defensive tackle this year. It really boils down to they're just having trouble tackling. And, the Raiders, it's been interesting because the Raiders defense has been a problem for a long time. And through 7 games last year, they were giving up 24.8 points. Now they're giving up 23. So that's 1.8 improvement.
Yeah.
But, you look at the scoring around the league is down. So maybe that plays a little bit. Against the Packers, they got a game-winning interception in the end zone in the final minute because Jordan Love underthrew it. Against the Patriots, they won the game on that safety because Mac Jones just wasn't there awful in that game. I give them credit for winning the games, making the plays, but I think what happened in those 2 weeks is that the Raiders defense might have gotten a little too much credit for overall improvement. Now they made those plays, and they've been making a couple more plays than they did last year. And in weeks 5 and 6, they got their first 4 interceptions of the season after not having interceptions in the first month. And then they didn't have any against Tyson Badgett. So that's something to watch this week. So there's been some perfume on this defense that maybe it's getting better. But overall, if you got some quality players going against them, I think those quality players prevail. And I think it's a talent thing. And I also think, they're having trouble tackling. So I think if David Montgomery is healthy and it looks iffy, I think the Lions would run all over him. Without him, I think Gibbs can still get some things going. I think overall this is a bad matchup for the Raiders defense.
Yeah, you jumped right all over the point I was going to bring up, which is it would be a great week to have David Montgomery. I don't think it's going to personally happen. Yeah. He was on the practice field today for the first time, I think, since his rib injury, but just working with trainers. So, but Jahmyr Gibbs can make players miss, but I think he still has very much a lot to prove between the tackles. And so, very interesting matchup there. And the Lions are a little beat up on the offensive line too. Frank Ragnow was out today, which by itself, like, he's been nursing a toe injury for a while, but now I think a thigh injury, I think, has been added to the report. And Jonah Jackson, the starting left guard, still not on track to return this week. So could be, maybe
Vaitai with the back injury.
Vaitai with the back injury as well. And so Lions could be working with 3 entirely, like a different rotation of 3 interior offensive linemen, but we'll see how the rest of the week goes. We're recording this on a Thursday night where we only have 1 practice under our belt, but something to just keep an eye on because it does feel like we know the Lions want to run the ball. We know they've been fairly successful at it with David Montgomery in the lineup, kind of so-so with Jahmyr Gibbs as the lead back. But it will be interesting to see how that goes. Last thing I want to touch on before we get to prediction part is the Raiders secondary, because we know their pass rush is kind of all surrounding Max Crosby. Lions have a pretty decent group of receivers, maybe not a lot of all-star guys outside of Amon-Ra. So let's start right there with Amon-Ra. How do you think the Raiders are going to defend Amon-Ra? And do you think they have the personnel to kind of contain him?
Yeah, Marcus Peters has been their top quarterback. He's been kind of hot and cold. Mm-hmm. This is a guy who was, a big ball hawk early in his career. Yeah. Pro bowler. Just kind of slipped a little bit, but still the Raiders' top guy. Jacorian Bennett, a 4th-round pick. He's been missed 2 of the last 3 games. Looks like to be on his way to playing. They have Meek Robinson, who is a nickel. I think Nate Hobbs has missed the last 4 games. He may be back this week. He makes a difference as a slot guy. They're serviceable. They're beatable, but they also can bite you. So I think the Lions are going to have to be careful. But I think if they game plan the right way, they can find some ways to make some plays.
All right.
What?
Go ahead. Let's get one last one.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Bill. The one last question I had is, thinking about the Lions offense, and Jeremy mentions Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think without David Montgomery, this Lions team has looked fundamentally quite different because they want to, impose their will on the ground. If they're throwing the ball, what has been teams' approach to kind of, you can't stop Max Crosby because he's, just relentless. But what has been their approach to trying to slow that guy down?
I forget who was it. Pittsburgh. Somebody triple teamed the guy. And just challenged the Raiders, and the Raiders were not up for the challenge. I think it was either the Charger or the Pittsburgh game. So there's just not a lot of overall great defensive talent on this team, and frankly, they've wasted the last couple of years of Max Crosby. This is his 5th year. He's been outstanding since his 2nd year, and not bad as a rookie either. And they just can't get anything done, and they just haven't been able to give him enough help. So I think teams, I think to say, okay, Crosby's going to be a 3-hour headache, but we can exploit other areas.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, we'll just neutralize the best part, and Marcus Peters, make a play, right? Or, whoever it is, make a play. Yeah.
And that's how they won those games, is guys made plays, in close games. And that's the Raiders' best chance here.
All right, let's move to the final portion of our show here, and it's called The One Thing We Think We Know, where we make a prediction about the game. Doesn't necessarily have to be the winner of the game, doesn't have to be the score, just one aspect of the game that you think is going to happen for sure. And because I forgot to tell Bill about this, Ryan's going to go first. I'm going to go second this time, and then we'll let you go last, Bill. So, Ryan, what is the one thing you think you know about Lions-Raiders?
Well, I think the one thing I think I know, upon further review, the Raiders have the worst turnover differential in football. It's -10. The Lions, even though some turnovers here in the recent weeks, but they're still sitting at +2. And they're taking the ball away. I mean, 9 takeaways this season. So I think that the Lions win the turnover differential by 3 in this Monday Night Football game.
That's bold. I kind of like it, but it's bold.
Thank you.
It'd be nice to see the defense force 3 turnovers after what happened on Sunday for sure.
It would be, and it would be just as nice to see the offense play clean football from start to finish.
True. And I'll go to the offense for the one thing I think I know. I did nail mine last week, by the way. I said 100 total yards for Jahmyr Gibbs, and it happened. Granted, all of it happened in the second half. I almost want to stick there and go like 100 rushing yards for Jahmyr Gibbs, but given that we don't know much about the Lions' interior offensive line at this point in the week, I'm not confident enough to do that. So I'm going to go in the other direction and say a 300-yard day from Jared Goff, because I think the Lions are going to have a little bit more time for him to throw, even though Max Crosby's there. That they don't, he's not going to have to deal with kind of crazy blitz looks that the Raiders could potentially bring. I think he's going to be a little more comfortable in the game. I think they might have to throw the ball a lot if there is issues with the interior offensive line. So I think it's a big day from Jared Goff this week. All right, Bill, what is the one thing you think you know about Lions-Raiders?
Maybe a little, it's not stat-based. I think the Raiders are going to face their toughest opponent of the season.
Oh, okay.
Now they play the Bills in week 2, lost 38-10. I think the fact that the Lions got hammered last week and they're pissed and they're coming home and they're playing on Monday night and they got the alt uniforms, I think the Raiders are going to go into a buzzsaw. And I'm not saying the Raiders can't win this game, but I think the Raiders are going to have to play their best game of the season.
Yeah.
And this is a team that has won 3 games, 1 by 1 point, 2 by 4, and their closest loss was a 5-point game that was just kind of garbage time. It was never like, oh my God, they're going to win this game.
Right.
So I think the Raiders are going to be extremely challenged. That's what I think. Can they win? Sure. But I think they got, hey, this is week 8 and they haven't seen a team like this in 6 weeks. That's a long time.
Yeah. It's a fair point. Before we let you go, Bill, I want to give you an opportunity to promote your stuff, where people can find you. Maybe if there's some content out there on Black and Silver Pride, Silver and Black Pride that Lions fans might be interested in, let us know.
Yeah, I mean, we got a lot of coverage. We have a stream right now that's on the page with, coverage that's, specific to this game. Tomorrow we have an Aiden O'Connell Crosby look. Yesterday we had a Laporta Mayer look. So a lot of, specific to this game. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys having me.
Well, appreciate you joining us, Bill, and appreciate you all listening at home. So for Ryan, for Bill, I'm Jeremy. Thank you all for listening. It's chaos. Be kind.
Recording stopped.
All right. We're good, Bill.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for being flexible today, too. I appreciate it, man.
Sure.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
Really do appreciate it. Thanks, Bill.
Anytime. Enjoyed it. See ya.
Bye.
See ya.
Oh, man, I nailed that timing right. Except now you're Eric.
That's fine.
And I also realized
I'm poor man's Eric.
I accidentally recorded that entire thing on the cloud instead of my computer, which I've never had to pull it from the cloud before, so that's going to be a fun adventure. But hey, everybody.
I feel like we've done that before.
I think so, maybe. What's up, live audience, Twitch/YouTube? How we doing? Bill's on a tight schedule. We kind of moved him around in the last minute, so if that felt rushed, that's why it was. But Bill's good. He's great. Like I've gotten to know him in kind of like the SB Nation producer circles. Us, it's a relatively small circle. I don't know what that is.
That's you rubbing elbows.
Rubbing elbows. That's right. But yeah, I don't know. Ryan and I have some work to do. We have to get you guys some of you guys, you subscribers out there, a POD newsletter by tomorrow morning. If you're wondering why it didn't drop today, because everything got pushed back because it's Monday Night Football. But anyways, we are willing to hang out here for a little bit, chat about whatever you guys want to talk about, and we'll probably get out here in 15, 20 minutes or so. So free to ask us anything.
Ask away.
AMA.
I mean, do you want to run with some alerts? I feel like we probably got some alerts.
We did, that's a great idea. It wasn't a ton, but we should get to them. That's a great point. Let's start with G Money.
Because they're all important.
They are, every single one. G Money, thank you for the 8-month subscribe to the channel. V Ball Out, thank you for the 9-month subscribed. Says Twitch baby, and then throws some Pride of Cabindas in the chat. That's right. Just our first, so many to come. Ken Jammin, 27-month subscribed. 28 subscribed to the channel. 27 in a row.
That's a lot of babies.
That is. And Herculins, we'll say. 12 months subscribed to the channel. That's a full year. Says FTP forever. And Basharnara. Thank you for the follow. All right. Let's get to some questions. There's a bunch in the chat. Frank. Let's talk about Frank Ragnow. So, is he actually injured? I would say the answer is not no. Because usually when Frank Ragnow is out on practice, like they're giving him rest and stuff.
Maintenance day, right?
Yeah, we just don't see him out there. Today he was out there with a trainer. And we were watching him, and shout out to Justin Rogers, who turned to me because there was 3 other guys working with a trainer. It was Malcolm Rodriguez, it was Benito Jones, and there was someone. Oh, and David Montgomery. Frank was on the hill, and so he was just like he was walking down the hill, and Justin Rogers like, that's weird. That's not. You wouldn't be on the hill if it was a toe issue. And he's like, I think it might be a thigh or a ham. What is it? Thigh? I already forgot. I should know this, but anyways, he called it. Yeah. He was exactly right, and so he's clearly dealing with something new. I don't know if that means he's going to miss the game. The fact that he's out there working on it is more so a good sign than a bad sign, but it is a new injury and it does feel real. Calf, that's right. What did I say? Thigh. Calf. It's a calf injury, which totally makes sense. When you're walking up a hill, it's calves. So that's a thing. Vaitai, I can't get into details, but I could tell that he wasn't a full go at practice today. So that's mildly concerning. But, next man up, I guess Colby Sorsdal or Aushika or however they're going to do it. I'm hoping at the very least Frank and Graham are going to be okay. Because then you're just talking about one position. But how important has Graham Glasgow been to this team so far?
Critical.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crucial.
Absolutely.
Very, very important. So, that's something obviously, and it's weird, right? Because this is just like the first practice, right? Just because of the Monday game and all that stuff. So something to definitely keep an eye on, but hopefully, like you said, it's a good thing ultimately that he was out there. It wasn't like he was completely, absent from practice, where then your mind is left wandering.
Yeah.
Right?
And listen, it's the first practice of the week. In general, that's usually the one with the least amount of participation. Hasn't been the case for the Lions this year because someone gets injured at some point in the middle of the week, every freaking week. Because
or Saturday.
Yeah, right.
But hey, speaking of that, Jerry Jacobs was out there.
Was
That's
out
a
there.
Good thing.
I don't remember if he was a full or I think he was a full participant, wasn't he? I'd have to double. No, he might have been limited. Either way, the fact that he's out there,
yeah,
he's gonna play. Like unless there's some sort of crazy setback, which I don't even mind putting it out there. But anyways, that's a good sign. I mean, probably not surprising since he went through pregame warmups. That was probably a sign that he's pretty darn close. He was full. There you go. So he's gonna play. It's just a bummer he couldn't last week. Yeah. I don't Charles Harris suiting up. Man, your guess is as good as mine because I mean, I don't know if that was a game specific plan. When we asked Dan about it, he's like, this isn't the end of Charles Harris. He's going to have an opportunity to get back out there. That's both non-committal and a little bit committal. It's like, yeah, he'll have a chance. It's not, he'll be back next week. But when I'm still a little bit flummoxed about that decision, especially when he was pushed about it, it's like, yeah, it basically came down to him versus Julian. And Julian played like 7 snaps. And so like, and we got into this a little bit in the midweek mailbag where like a lot of these snaps seemingly went to Jack Campbell, right? Obviously, the return of Josh Paschal played a part as well, but Jack Campbell is this guy that they envision now in this Sam role where he's on the edge. They really like his ability to drop back into coverage from there. It feels like hey, we need to get this rookie out there. He's a talented guy, but Derek Barnes is playing his butt off at Mike, so we can't put him at Mike. Let's find somewhere else to put him. But I don't like Jack Campbell at Sam. I don't. I don't think he's a good pass rusher. It's a new role for him, and he's not doing it well. And so the fact that he can drop into coverage is great, but he can't do what I view as the more important role of the Sam linebacker, which is to set the edge in the run game, which he was very undisciplined in doing on Sunday, and rush the passer, and he can't do that either. And so you're making a 3-down linebacker do things that he's not good at for at least 2 of those downs. Yeah.
I mean, last week was just man, it was a no good bad week for everybody, but he was one of the ones where it kind of stood out as like, man, it was a really bad no good week for Jack Campbell.
Yeah. And so in my mind, I hope they say, you know what, we tried it for a couple weeks, it didn't work. He's not getting better at it. Let's just rotate him and Derek Barnes, go back to 2 linebacker looks, and throw Charles Harris back out there. I know Charles Harris isn't lighting the world on fire either, but at least he can do the basics of the job and not. I mean, Jack was bad. He was a liability out there. That's and I'm not trying to say that to bury the young kid. I'm not trying to say he's a bust, but they're putting him in a really, really tough position. And I mean, that's about as tough of a position as you can put a rookie. Not only are you in a new position, but you have to do it against Lamar frickin' Jackson.
Yeah. Well, so 2 things to that point though. Like one, like this coaching staff wouldn't do that to anybody if they didn't feel like confident in them being able to do it. Right. So, I mean, it sucks that he didn't play very well, but at the same time, it's like, okay, the coaching staff is confident and they believe in him and they'll put him in that spot. I think the other thing too, though, is like, you just look at his athletic profile and maybe he's just able to do more things than Charles Harris. Specifically, like the coverage stuff.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, like, hey, if there's somebody I want chasing down Lamar Jackson to the boundary, it's probably Jack Campbell and not Charles Harris.
True.
So I mean, I think I do trust Dan Campbell in terms of his like non-committal answer about Charles Harris. Like, there's no way. Like, in terms of the way that they talked about him in training camp and in the preseason, I know. Like, it's. I don't know. I don't think anybody should ever overreact to a player being an inactive. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I mean,
especially under this regime, right? Yeah,
right.
This regime, I think they do it a little bit to light a fire, a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I don't know. I don't think here's the thing. Like, I don't think Charles Harris is worse for wear for missing last week. You know what I mean? Like,
it's probably better for wear. Like, it makes you feel better.
Right.
Oh, I make this big a difference in the defense that they fall to pieces without me.
Yeah. Hey, right? Or even Isaiah Buggs too, right? Like,
sure.
Oh man, like, hey.
I'm not sure Buggs took it the best way, but
but
I mean, he's on the other side of it now.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of talk about Chris going to Olive Garden.
Yeah. I only know as much as you guys know. I haven't DM'd him. I haven't seen the full apparently 30-minute video out there. I've just seen the clip on Twitter where he looks about as despondent as I did after some of the stuff I had to eat during November last year.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything, but I'm sure we'll be getting that to you soon.
Yeah, I'm guessing he's gonna pass along the raw video to Miko, and maybe he'll highlight it for y'all and put it up on YouTube.
There you go. Yeah, lots of comments too about my Vipers hoodie.
Rightfully so.
I mean, sure, but also let's not bury the lead. I mean, the Red Wings are one of the best teams in the NHL, so, and they're playing right now. So,
is it a 7:00 start?
Yeah, they're at home. They're at home against Winnipeg.
Dang it! How am I going to get any work done tonight? Sorry, guys, no POD direct tomorrow.
Yeah, hey, email your boss. Be like, the Wings are on. I'm
sorry. He's my boss is a Bills fan, and so he's not even going to be able to edit it until after the game tonight.
You shouldn't have told me that. Because now I'm like, I got more time.
Who you got tonight? I'm kind of fascinated by this game because it's two teams that I thought were better last week than I do now. Like, I thought the Bucks, like, they got a pretty good defense. Like, that'll carry them some wins. And then who'd they lose to last week? The Falcons?
Wait, who's that?
The Bucks?
Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tampa Bay lost to the Falcons.
Yeah, like, Ritter kind of threw all over them, right? And I'm like, that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, I mean, but there was also somebody on SB Nation who called him a effing idiot.
Vea is out.
Yeah, that was the thing I was going to say. It's like, I saw that Vea was like a true game time decision and he was out on the field warming up. But if he's not playing, oh boy.
But the Bills just one of the most confounding teams so far.
But here's the thing. I don't think it's so confusing when you think of it from the standpoint of they lose Tre'Davious White, one of the top corners in the NFL.
Sure.
And then the following week, they lose Matt Milano, one of the top linebackers in the NFL. It's like,
but their offensive struggles is what's confounding, right? Like, is Josh? Yeah. Are we starting to like question whether Josh Allen is elite? It started at the end of last year, right? Because there were a lot of turnovers towards the end of the year, and a lot of people were like, "Well, he had a shoulder injury,
the elbow thing." Yeah. I think to that point though, like, I've seen people on like Bill's Twitter that funny enough, but like
they want Aiden O'Connell.
They want Jared Goff. Like they're like, we would much rather have somebody like Jared Goff playing quarterback for us because of the turnovers. Yeah. Like, it's one of those things where like Josh Allen is just an absolute roller coaster, right? And I think it's an interesting case study. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Of like, I mean, those two guys specifically, right? Like, Josh Allen, mobile, big arm, prone to making mistakes. Jared Goff, can't run away from Teddy, my 1-year-old.
I was wondering where you're going there.
Yeah, no. I mean, he can run away from Teddy Bridgewater, but only for so long.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. It's a joke. Relax. But yeah, it's just this idea of like, hey, careful with the football, not careful with the football, but also, hey, could be an explosive play waiting to happen at any moment where it's like Jared Goff, hey, Ben Johnson, dial something up and I'll make it explosive.
How far have we come that Jared Goff is now the example of a guy who's careful with the football? Because a year ago, it did not feel like that was a way to characterize him.
Yeah, like literally a year ago, right?
But, yeah.
Yeah.
He did fumble it twice last week, which I was not a fan of. He didn't lose either of them, but I'm like, I remember when this was a thing, and I would rather it stay not a thing anymore. So can you stop doing that?
Yeah, was one of his fumbles the one that was recovered by Penei Sewell with
Yep.
one hand where he just went
Yep.
and then like ran off like 4 or 5 defenders?
Yep. And then the other one he recovered himself. It just kind of fell right back on him, but
Yeah, I mean, like, personally, like, I'm still probably going to go with the guy with, like, you know, I think I'm more like a Josh Allen kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
Like, but again, not really on the other side of it. You know what I mean?
Sure. And it's easy. And I think a lot of people accuse us and other draft analysts to just be kind of swayed by the mobile quarterbacks of the league. And I do think, I think last week is a perfect example of just how much of a weapon that can be if you find the right guy. But there's a point to be made about like these mobile quarterbacks not being able to be a pocket quarterback like Lamar can be right now. And you have to have a little bit of both to succeed in this league.
Yeah.
Well,
don't you feel like that's kind of symptomatic of like the whole like Kyler Murray?
Yeah.
Almost kind of like Bryce Young thing right now too,
sure.
Right? Like it's where it's like, okay, like, yeah, you can move around and stuff in college and that's cool, but like you have to play from the pocket in the NFL. Like you just have to.
Yep. And I guess the question is, because it felt like we were trending towards with Tom Brady retiring, with Drew Brees retiring, the era of the pocket quarterback seemed like maybe it was on the way out. And now Jared Goff is ascending. Now everyone watched Kirk Cousins on Monday night.
CJ Stroud is
playing more in the pocket, and you're wondering, okay, well, I mean, CJ Stroud can move a little bit too, but he just doesn't do it that much. To me, and there's also a major difference between a running quarterback and a mobile quarterback, because if you have a mobile quarterback who can just navigate the pocket well and create, 6, 7, 8 seconds to throw the ball while still in the pocket, that to me is where you find, like, Aaron Rodgers is really good at that. I would say
the pocket awareness stuff.
Yeah,
right?
Aaron Rodgers is a mobile quarterback. I would not call him a running quarterback. Lamar Jackson, probably both, but if you can find that mobile quarterback that doesn't necessarily default to run, that's a sweet spot.
Yeah. I mean, Mahomes, right?
Mahomes too. Yep,
exactly. He's the epitome of a mobile quarterback. But Jay Hurd, in our comment section, I don't know if you see that, Hooker can be the perfect balance, has some mobility, but will live in the pocket.
I mean, maybe. I'd love to see him practice, and we won't get to do that until OTAs, unfortunately. I mean, at some point it sounds like he's going to be activated, but we're not really going to be able to see him practice, is my point. Like, we'll see him warm up. By the way, I think it's been you every single time, but I'm not sure if it has or hasn't. It's probably auto-correcting, but starting Park Racing, every time you type in Lamar, it's Llama R, and it makes me laugh.
It feels like you're conjugating a verb in Spanish.
Llamar. Also, Johnson Alex, thank you for the 9-month subscribe to the channel. Switch, baby. Appreciate you.
Uncle T-Rav. Hold on. Relax. Let's not get too far ahead of our skis there.
Well, I don't even know which one we're getting too far ahead on. Are we getting too far ahead on CJ Stroud or Hendon Hooker in that statement? And Hendon Hooker can be a poor man CJ Stroud.
Everybody's over their skis, I think.
I like now everyone is just Spanishizing every Lions player's name. This is fun.
This is good. It's almost like easy, Greg Olson. That's Jay Hurd had a question earlier. Broderick Martin, where is that mountain of a man in his progress to making it to the active roster?
I mean, it's hard to say, right? Because again, we're not seeing any of these guys practice, so I'm not seeing Broderick Martin get better.
Right. It's not training camp,
Yeah. I would imagine he's probably still behind Levi, and I know they're not exactly the same players, but remember, Levi is also being a fairly regular, healthy and active. I think he's been inactive for 2 games so far. So,
Rodrigo Martino.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it'll happen at some point this year. Maybe by injury. Maybe if Benito Jones doesn't play this week, and I don't know. He was moving around kind of well with a trainer, so I'm not ready to declare him out. But maybe that's the opportunity to get a handful of snaps. I think they would probably rely pretty heavily on what's his name first, but why can't I remember the guy that we were just talking about that got benched? Bugs.
Charles Harris.
Isaiah
Bugs. Yeah. Sorry.
Chris Jones, what do you got against me? Says, holy-ish, Jeremy said something I actually agree with.
Oh.
This is why it took us so long to get back on YouTube.
Oh, no.
I'm kidding.
Oh, no. I will say, though, about Broderick, it feels a bit strange that, and I mean, the long game is always in mind, but
yeah,
just the way that Brad Holmes packaged up so much to move up to get Broderick Martin, I'm not questioning whether or not
he's a bust. You're saying he's a bust. Got it.
Yep, you got it. Okay. El Busto.
There you go. No. Well, and someone asked in the chat whether you think he's behind the 8 ball here or if this was kind of the plan all along. And
it feels like the plan.
I would think so. Right? Small school guy. I kind of want to go back and look at some of the things Brad Holmes maybe said that night, because I don't remember off the top of my head. But I imagine this is not a complete surprise. Hold on.
Well, I'll ask Troy Barnes question real quick. How much would it cost to trade for Devin Witherspoon, brother? You don't got enough. You don't got enough.
Mm-mm.
I don't know if they're. I mean, would you trade Aiden Hutchinson for Devin Witherspoon?
What? I'm not answering this question. I'm not going down this line of nonsense.
Yeah. Well, I can tell that all of you who are saying no are clearly not PFF subscribers who think that coverage matters more than pass rush. I'm joking.
So this is Brad Holmes on draft night. He says, quote, he's about Broderick Martin. Quote, he's got some rawness, but we're really excited about his upside. He's another one that we brought in for a visit, and he's just kind of lit up the room with his personality and just mindset. He's a really good kid that has a pretty unique story. We're just really, really excited. I think that Lions defensive coach John Scott is going to do some really nice things with him. So already mentions rawness and an upside.
So it's John Scott's fault.
It's John Scott's fault. That's right. But if your general manager is mentioning rawness in like the hype press conference, you're saying, he's kind of raw. I think you understand. This is gonna be a developmental process here.
Here are the lines. Read between them.
That's right. I thought you were doing the Madden quarterback thing, which I don't know if you've been watching the Madden Sims.
What's that? I have been, but I've been popping in and out.
Every time they show a close up of a quarterback in the huddle, he's leaning over and he goes, just every time he makes this move.
Run these routes.
Yeah, just it'll happen legitimately a dozen times every single Madden Sim. To a point where I think we need to have that emote. We just need to have fingers pointing in this direction and emote.
There's gonna be an opportunity on Monday night, and none of you will beat me to it. But I'm definitely gonna. Max Crosby's gonna make a play on a drive, and then Aiden Hutchinson's gonna make a play on the next drive. And I'm posting the Spider-Man meme. So I challenge somebody to beat me to it.
Yeah, we're stealing Madden signs. That's right. This play. All right.
Let's pass. I'm ready to go. We're done. I can't do this. I can't do the sign stuff. It's the dumbest discourse of all time. I hate it. It's so stupid. Guess what? If your signs are getting stolen, get new signs. You should be better at communicating your signs. It's dumb.
You're not wrong.
It's stupid. Don't compare. And here's the other thing. Don't compare it to the Houston Astros. Like apples to oranges.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I'm not getting involved. I don't know.
Good.
You kind of
Good.
sound like Aiden Hutchinson a little bit. They're going after us because we're championships bound. That's why.
No. Don't twist. No. Give him his full quote.
No.
They're going to win a championship again.
Um,
Aiden Hutchinson wasn't born yet, was he?
How dare you? You're right, but how dare you? Someone asked
the
about
Astros was cheating.
Yeah.
That was cheating.
Well, ceiling signs not illegal in the NCAA. Going and recording games from your seat at an opponent's game, that seems to be the line that's being crossed that people are upset about. But I don't care. People are asking about our schedule this week. Understandably so. Everything, obviously, outside of this is actually when we normally record it. Is getting pushed back. So Madden Sim will be on Sunday morning instead of Saturday morning because I'm going to be at Allen Park on Saturday morning for the final practice of the week. So Sunday morning before all the real football starts, probably about 10 o'clock, we'll be live here, both on YouTube and Twitch, to do the Madden Sim. In terms of post-game stuff, I believe the plan right now is for Chris to do a post-game the night of. So Monday night, 11:30, midnight-ish. He'll jump on. I'm obviously going to be unavailable. Maybe some other people from POD jump on. I don't know. We haven't discussed that yet. And then tentative plan is to go live Halloween night, probably later in the night, 8:30-ish, to do a full POD cast with the full crew. Yes, spooky, scary.
No, and I'll strong arm Jeremy into doing the spooky vision that they did in South Park for Underpants Gnomes.
Throw on just what's her name?
It's Barbara Streisand.
Barbara Streisand little
It's supposed to be like the jump scare, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like Barbara Streisand. Yeah. That seems like the plan. I also just thought about how much next week is going to suck. Because it's going to be Tuesday podcast late, and then it's going to be Thursday First Byte, and everything's going to be on.
No, it's bye week, buddy.
Bye week. Oh
bye
my
week,
god.
Bud. We don't need to do a First Byte unless you wanna.
No, I mean because we do love everybody here, but I'm just saying that. Oh my god, that just made me feel so much better because the bye week's best week.
True. And listen,
bye week's best week.
Next week's also the start of Movember, which is not an ideal way to kick off Movember. Is a bye week, but we'll have some streams for you. We might even start it a day early. We might start it on Tuesday. Why the hell not? I'll be honest, the campaign's already open. We will do a midweek mailbag at some point next week. I haven't talked to Eric about it, so it obviously won't be Tuesday because we're going to do the podcast on Tuesday. Could be Wednesday, could be Thursday. We'll figure it all out. But get ready for Movember too because we're going to raise a ton of money. I pretty much have the whole thing ready to go. I just need to finalize some things that are going to be raffled off. Hey, you're not supposed to do that. That does spoil the two causes. And I don't.
Oh, yeah.
That link is also not going to work. But yeah, spoiler alert. Anyways, so that kind of wraps things up for where we're at. Let's go raid somebody and get out of here.
I liked Start and Park Racing's comment. Bye week is when you eat dinner with the family to touch base.
Yep. That feels very accurate. Let's just send you guys over. I was hoping that because I know the Blevins bros are going to be live for the Thursday night game, but it doesn't look like they're live yet. So we're just going to send you over to Prime Video. You guys are just going to go. I'm going to send you straight over to a Thursday night stream if it's working.
And if you don't want to do that, go watch the Red Wings game.
You can do that as well. I should have sent you over to Prime. What's the Prime Vision? There's also a Prime Vision Twitch channel, which I would highly recommend. You guys on YouTube, I can't send you anywhere, so you're just gonna sit in this screen until you get the little whirly wheel thing. It's like, I guess they disconnected. So, anyways, thank you everybody for all the subs. Thank you for all the kind words. Thanks for just hanging out, providing discussion and things like that. And we will be live next for the men's team on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Till then, have a good week. The raid has happened, and we're still live on YouTube. So YouTube, you